mainstreaming, how we can mainstream TVET for development. It's a platitude to say that TVETs give us skills. It goes without saying. Again, it has been demonstrated, and one at Dubai, I'm sure Nigerian, demonstrated TVET graduate possess superior technical skills compared to. But that is what TVET institutions are set up to do. You should train people to have technical skills. Technical skills are skills related to a certain profession. That's all it means. TVET must continue to address industrial needs and foster a culture of continuous learning. The training must address obsolescence. As I said, skills keep evolving. Skills keep evolving. You cannot have one curriculum you use. I remember one of my lecturers, he had people, they are that old. It seems they're about 20 years old. The same notes he's been reading to people all the time. We mainstream TVET to ensure entrepreneurship self-employment, which I have already mentioned. Some of the challenges, they are there. But in Africa, instead of us to think of innovative ways of doing things, we mention lack of funding, and then we do nothing. It's not always lack of funding. Yes, there's lack of funding, but sometimes just leadership. It's not always lack of funding. And then TVET, the perception of TVET is so poor. Sometimes you think that in Ghana, if you fail before you go to a technical school, everybody wants their child or their child to be doctors or lawyers. That is it. I've asked this question at an educational forum like this. How many of us have our children in TVET institutions? Maybe if I ask you, you all want your daughters to be doctors or lawyers or even engineers. Nobody wants his son or so, unless they fail, to be plumbers or mechanics. I'm not lying. So we should promote the perception of TVET as not the other alternative, but a major training avenue for training for people for self-employment. Yes, TVET impacts skills that enable, we should mainstream TVET in a way to impart skills so people can work in various sectors of the economy. So if we are training somebody for welding, should be able to work across, be a construction person, not just welding should be able to work in a shipping yard, welding as a mechanic in a fitters shop, welding as a construction person. Again, it's TVET person here should be, if we all work together, if I have a Nigerian mechanic, should be able to work in Ivory Coast, should be able to work in Ghana. If we equalize the standards, we make it the same. As I said, intra-African mobility is hindered by non-standardized qualifications and skills. I think the other day, ECO was trying to standardize our training, and I think Africa, AAU also have something they are trying to do. So if we're able to standardize the same kind of training, when the white man was here, we had City and Guilds, the same thing. So if I come to Nigeria, City and Guilds, the same thing. They expect the same type of outputs. But now when we change, people have different types of qualification, competencies. So we should all work to prioritize TVET and improve the image of TVET in the African continent. I will not belabor the point. I've mentioned some of these things. It's important, also, in Kube, mentioned that TVET studies, there's a link between TVET and economic diversification. If we train a lot of people, we can diversify our economy. Ghana, for instance, has been a cocoa economy for a long time, and we are struggling to diversify. Nigeria depends on oil. And you go to many African countries, Gambia, you see, there's a Ghana, one product economy. If we keep on like that, anything happens, then your economy is down. And it's like that in most African You train people, give them skills to go into other areas. So we can also identify very emerging areas and then train people to go into those areas, There are several challenges. At first they say difficulty or problems. They say we don't have to say difficulties, you have to say challenges. Yes, inadequate infrastructure. If you go to the schools, you see. If you go to, don't let them show you only the good ones. We have done a lot in equipping our schools, but there are still challenges in various TVET institutes. Limited funding. As a societal bias, everybody wants their children to be lawyers and doctors, and even those who are training people for TVET don't want their children to be in it, unless it's engineer, not the lower rung. Disconnect between TVET curriculum and industrial needs. But there are opportunities. There are growing demands for skills. Sometimes people advertise, they don't get people. In certain emerging areas, they advertise, they don't get anybody to recruit. So they depend on Ghanaians outside to come and fill the vacancies. We need government commitment to TVET. A lot has happened in Ghana. We secured World Bank funding to equip the laboratories in a lot of technical institutions, and also technical universities and technical institutions that offer diploma and below. Several other organizations have helped to equip our laboratories. We have sent people abroad to get them trained, to get higher qualifications. So in Ghana, we actually have international support, and most of the donors here, they give money for education. Initially, it was primary education. Now they are going more and more into TVET. So what can we do? We need increased investments, not just the government, but TVET managers should equip themselves with grantsmanship so that they can write proposals for funding of their institutions. But government is key in all this. Infrastructure, faculty developments are important. Faculty development, not just education, acquisition of higher qualifications, but attachment with industry, for instance. Not just the students, but the staff themselves must be attached to industries to get the skills in industry. Collaboration with employer. If you come to Ghana Tertiary Education, if you want to start any program, we ask you, how many companies are you working with? List them, and we demand a letter from those industries you are going to work. If you want to train somebody in, say, fashion, then you should list. You should list the fashion industries and the type of skills you expect that fashion organization to help your students acquire if they go there for internship. It's a requirement, by at least from my side. It's a requirement because I was in it. I'm in the middle of it. We check your curriculum and see. Bring letters of collaboration. Apart from this, so again, bring letters of collaboration from the industrial regulator. For instance, if you are doing engineering, you don't only go to an engineering consent to get places where they can do attachments, but the Ghana Institute of Engineering, a professional body, should also accept your curriculum because they register your students after graduation. Curriculum reform. Let's look at the emerging areas and train our students accordingly. Places, we can also come out with innovation which others can copy. Shouldn't always be Europe and America doing it and we copy. We can also come out with new innovations in curricular development that fits the African continent. And then this gender thing. Don't think that gender is always promoting women. More and more, the women are coming up in Africa. More and more, they are coming up. Last year, I've been collecting data on tertiary education institutions, and our purpose is to achieve gender parity, 1:1, female and male. I realized that University of Cape Coast, for about some time now, the females are rather going into the universities than the males. So very soon, the gender equality will not be to promote women, but to promote the men as well. Yes. But for TVET, actually, we have limited number of women. So we should do a lot to promote women in the fields of TVET. Quality improvement. Quality improvement, quality assurance, and quality management. If you say somebody has HND in a particular area, engineering, the person should come exhibiting skills that the person who was trained in a traditional institution does not have. We should equip ourselves to manage quality and have quality outcomes in TVET education. It's very, very, very important that you say he's an engineer, he's an engineer. He's a marine engineer, he's a marine engineer. He's a baker, he's a baker. That's the only way we can improve the African brand. Throughout the way, immediately you say you attach Africa to the thing, anything, and it means it's a mediocre thing. It should change. It should change. So there's an African engineer, then is it? Unless he's trained outside Africa. That narrative should change, and we should change it. That African engineers should be amongst the best in the world. African doctor. Thankfully now they are taking away our doctors, so our nurses. Ghana, the nurses keep going to Europe and the Caribbean. Maybe our nurses, as for health, we have done well. We should do well in the other areas too. It's sad to say, very big projects in my own country, it's either the Indians or Chinese doing it. So sad. So sad. People are building bridges and they are managed by the Chinese. Oh, maybe the Chinese gave us the money, but their workers are in here. And it's so in several parts of Africa. Where are the engineers we trained? I mean, we train them, we don't even believe in them. There was a man in Ghana, a very informal person, but he has developed planes, cars, several. As for the cars, people are riding it. But somebody told me, even he himself, who developed the plane, will not sit in it. Are we developing engineers we can't use to build our bridges? Listen to you are the one training them. Why don't we trust it on for high-rise buildings? You will see that a foreign company is the one doing it. What is the point in training them if we cannot use them? If they are not competent? So let's improve the quality. Don't hide on that. We don't have money. We've been saying that all the time. We don't have money. When will we have money? We have money. What we lack is leadership. We have to engage the private sector to help with funding, curricular development, seek international support. There are several funders out there. Ford Foundation has provided funding in Ghana before. Carnegie Corporation has helped us with academic training of academic leaders. That's one more. Then those who regulate the institutions might themselves be equipped with how to regulate TV. It cannot be the same as regulating a university devoted to the arts and the business. It's a different ballgame altogether. So if they are not equipped, how can they regulate? Is there any regulator here? I work with Ghana Commission for Tertiary Education. And we have to build our capacity to regulate institutions like nursing training colleges, technical schools. And so without saying, that is my TVET will play a vital role in the development of Africa. We have to keep on developing skills to transform our continent. Addressing skill gaps. Stop people dying. They see becoming the grief of African youth. And then sometimes you hear the amount of people, somebody will change about $20,000 trying to get to Europe. Could have invested $20,000 in Ghana or any part. When I was doing my PhD in Holland, one lady told me, your people come here, they think they are in heaven. And a white lady who told me, I was so sad. Yeah, they are rich, they think they are in heaven. And it's true. They get a passport, they come to church. Yeah, my God, hallelujah, hallelujah, I have my Dutch passport. So everybody running away from Africa. That's a shame. So we can harness TVET to change our continent. And the onus depends on you. the administrators and managers of TVET institutions. I wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you for listening.
Can we do it better for him? Sorry. Initially, I didn't get his PhD well. So Dr. Newman holds a PhD in social sciences, economics of higher learning from the Groningen University in Netherlands. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, because of our time, we want to take one last speech from the governor, and he's going to spend only 10 minutes, so that after that we break for lunch. So let me quickly introduce Governor Kyobo County, Kenya. His Excellency Dr. Eric Mutai. Dr. Eric Mutai is Kriko County's second governor after Paul Cheponi, who led the county between 2013 to 2022. Dr. Mutai was sworn in as a governor on August 25th last year after emerging victorious in the governor's race in the general election held on August 9 of that year. During the election, Mutai garnered 316,000 votes to beat by a wide margin Isaac Biegon, independent, who came second in the general election with 6,600 votes. Joseph Kirui garnered 6,529, while engineer Samuel Rotich, also independent, garnered 2,484, came third and fourth respectively. The 39-year-old governor comes from Bureti constituency. He was born on December 28, 1983. Dr. Mutai began his formal education at Rugut Primary, where he had his Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination in 1996. The politician's first trace of leadership qualities was at Lytton High School, where he studied between 1997 and 2001 and served as a Downey Hall captain. Before tossing his hat into the political arena, Dr. Mutai worked as a literature and communication lecturer at Embu University. The governor holds a doctorate in literature and communication from Laikipia University, where he graduated in 2017. Dr. Mutai, a father of 2 children, is popularly known in political circles as the Equalizer. Shall we invite Dr. Mutai, the Equalizer, to give his address on the topic, the role of devolved units in the realization of creativity and innovation through incubation of skill in VTC, that is a vocational training.
Thank you so much. That is quite a very rare introduction, because I often hold the view that only happen in churches where we need to build up the faith of the believers before a pastor preach. But at the least, I know we are hungry, we need to go for lunch. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As well captured by the moderator, my name is Dr. Eric Mutai. I'm a governor in one of the counties in Kenya called Kericho, and I bring you greetings from our president, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto. I also bring you greetings from the Cabinet Secretary of Education, Mr. Mochoku, and I bring you greetings from the Chair, the Council of Governors of Kenya, Anne Waiguru, whom I'm here to represent today as the Council. When I thought of coming here to Kana to talk about the role of devolved units in the realization of creativity and innovation through incubation of skills in FTCs, lessons from Kenya, the first thing that came to me or to my mind is a story I read from Kana. One of your good writers called Ayekwe Ama had a text or a story titled Fragments. And in his character is a man called Baako who left Kana to look for greener pastures. He got good education. He got all that you can imagine in terms of education. But he came back to Kana and realized that with his own papers and certificates that he has got from abroad, probably his skills could not be applied to Kana. He ended up in a psychiatric hospital, and out of frustration, and that is the title, Fragments, because he got fragmented. I asked myself these questions then. As we educate our children, as we do policies for our universities and our institutions, the biggest concern that we ask ourselves is how relevant is the skills that you are giving out to our children. I've been a lecturer in the university for a decade, and I left the university and I was at Dean School of Arts and Social Sciences at the University of Embu. And I watched where the number of students that we graduated every year, totally close to 5,000 on the pavilion. Many times, as a lecturer, you inspire them that the green world and the good world is waiting for you. But deep down in your heart, you know that you may not be saying the truth because there are no jobs in Africa as such. TIFETs then remain the place for us to go. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as we discuss this matter, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, and passionate advocates of technical education and TIFETs from across the African continent, I stand before you today as the chairperson of the Education Committee at the Council of Governors, deeply honored to share the remarkable journey of Kenya's devolved units in fostering creativity, innovation, and skills incubation within our FTC. So I'm here to share the Kenyan experience on matters devolution on TIFETs. And what I mean here is that Kenya, just like most of the democracies in Africa, we run two levels of governments. We run the national government, which is headed by the president, and we run the devolved units, which is headed by the governors, just like in most other parts of the states and other regional governments. In recent years, the global landscape has witnessed a seismic shift in the way we perceive the acquisition of skills necessary for youth employment. No longer can we confine the acquisition of these skills to traditional classrooms and academic institutions. The demands of the 21st century requires us to embrace a paradigm shift that places practical skills and creativity at the forefront. In this context, vocational training centers and TIFETs stands as beacons of hope, offering a platform for youth to nurture their talents and develop practical skills and fuel innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, as in most sub-Saharan African countries, more than 35% of Kenya's population is below 35 years of age. More than 13% of youth are unemployed or underemployed, and this number is expected to grow. The scenarios presents both a blessing and a challenge in equal measures. We have often been told the youthful badge in the continent is the answer to future developments and human capital investment. The biggest challenge of this is the rising instances of youth unemployment witnessed in most of the countries currently. While there is no single solution to address these challenges, technical and vocational training centers increasingly be recognized by governments and development institutions as the most practical avenue for our youth to acquire skills. It is within this context that the vol units have emerged as vital catalysts in driving creativity and innovation through technical and vocational training centers. Devolution, as witnessed in Kenya and other nations, has brought governance and decision-making closer to the people. This decentralization has allowed for a more nuanced understanding of local needs and has enabled tailored approaches to education that align with the aspirations of communities. In the interest of time, and I know that you are a bit hungry, my mainstay for this conference today is that as we discuss the future of Africa, as we have conversations on how we are going to tap Africa into the next generation, the answer and solutions lies in TVET and vocational training centers. We need to move forward as a continent and begin to recraft our curriculum to be aligned to the industrial needs that we need as Africa. My take, ladies and gentlemen, is that we've always had conversation. In Kenya, for example, the VTCs that are domiciled within the devolved units, we've seen tremendous growth in terms of the training, in terms of the curriculum, and in terms of the facilities within those centers. We have agreed within the Council of Governors in Kenya that what we need to do is to have intentional training of our curriculum. And one of the things that we are doing is linking the classroom with the industry. We've been able to match out, for example, that if this county is producing tea, then the question we ask ourselves is, what do the tea industries require, so that we recraft our curriculum to meet the boiler technician, to meet what the particular niche of industries requires in that region. We have also moved forward as a country to begin to look into matters the blue economy. And we talk about blue economy, that is the marine guards, all that are required, and we are trying then to work with those devolved units to be able to recraft our curriculum to meet the needs of individual counties. Thirdly, ladies and gentlemen, as we do this again, we've had situations where in our TVETs or in our VTCs, we offer close to 80% theory, and yet these are centers that are supposed to be skilling the youth. So the question that we need to ask ourselves is that how then should we tailor our curriculum so that 40% goes to theory and 60% to 70% goes to the industry, and be able to merge up the industry so that these particular learners can be able to learn from the industry and be able to translate their knowledge into practical skills. Fourthly is the question of funding. In Kenya, for example, we have the biggest hub in Nairobi called Waithaka Vocational Training Centers run by Nairobi County. This was funded by Safaricom to a tune of 130 million. The question we ask in Africa then, how then are we supposed to move TVETs not just from government, but also into private industries, into private players? We have ballooning, or rather we have strong private investors in Africa. The question is, as we make policies, as we make directions as government, how then are we able as government to merge up government blueprint ideas with the private sector so that they come in terms of funding and also come in terms of allowing practical experiences to work in this particular institution. Kenya, just like most parts of Africa, has its biggest economy in the rural areas. As we look into turning around the economy in the rural areas, we ask ourselves, what do we do then to curtail and be able to create functional incubation centers within those particular TVETs in the rural areas? My take for this conference today is that if we are able to turn around our vocational training centers into incubation centers for skills, then we'll be able to cut the problem of unemployment and poverty in Africa by almost half. What I mean as a clear example is, I would be surprised, and sometimes it's a bit logics, for example. If, for example, you have a VTC and you are training business management, and the university next to you is training again business management. The question is, are we able to craft in particular skills for incubation that can allow our students in FTCs, and within 6 months they are able to prepare yogurt for themselves, they are able to do innovations, and they are able then to turn around their own economy and be able to live independently, so to say. In Kenya, for example, we have moved ahead and we have agreed as governors and take a position that we will not use our FTCs to train business-related courses unless on digital economy. But rather, we use our FTCs to train our students on skill and practical courses required at that particular time. Lastly, is that the role of government in terms of shaping the training needs. I was in Canada the other day in a conference just like this some few months ago, and I learned that in the Western countries, they've been able to determine what are they churning out at every year by doing a survey on the needs of their nation periodically. As in Africa, we train for training's sake. So you have, every year, you are training like 10,000 students in one particular aspect, and we oversupply the markets. My achievement is that it may reach time also, it has reached time as African nations to be able to regulate what we train at a particular time, and to be able as a nation to take stock of what we did even as we move forward, so that we don't end up training for just training, but we train for specific market. Lastly, and I'm struggling so much because I know people are tired, is that the solutions for us as Africa is to begin to take our education more seriously and become more intentional in the curriculum we offer. Many times we complain, and we are asked that why is Africa poor? The easiest answer we have had is that we were colonized. Then we ask again, why is Ghana poor? We say it's because we were colonized. Why is Kenya poor? It's because we were colonized. And I ask myself, that's very good, but even if you go to America, they were equally colonized. If you go to India, they were equally colonized. Perhaps it's time that we move from being crybabies and take charge of our own education system. When we were brought in our education, the emphasis were on religion. And you were told by the colonizer that you must be able to sing some good hymns before you sleep, and you must be a very good Christian so that you go to heaven. Today, in 21st century, we must then recraft our thinking as Africa and begin to make education that makes sense for our people. And the way to go is defense. I learned, for example, in Canada, that they learned a long time ago that you can be a graduate, but at the same time, you can pick up a course in vocational training centers. In Africa, when you ask our children to go to a FTC and study carpentry, they shun away from it. Because the stereotyping, the imagination that when you study this particular course or you are in TIFET, then you are lesser than any other person, has made us shy away from the heart of innovation. And that is why if we must realize the goals that we have as Africa and as nations, we must be able then to begin to rethink our culture in terms of education and be able to drive our training to meet the needs of Africa and to also center the place of innovation and technology, digital space, and the artificial knowledge as we move forward. To that end, ladies and gentlemen, I know that we are hungry, and I'm also looking forward to remove my tie and sample some bit of culture of Ghana, and it is good that sometimes to run away from politics to come to this country. Not necessarily to talk a lot about it in the conference, but to interact with other cultures, escape to where no one can take a photo of you and just be happy. And that's exactly what I intend to do after this meeting. Thank you so much. God bless you. Me Desai, Asanteni Sana, and God bless all of you. And Karibu Kenya. Asante Sana.
Can we do it better for him? Dr. Mutai, thank you very much for this presentation. Now we invite the LOC chairman for announcements.
Thank you very much for your patience. We'll go for lunch now. We'll take only 30 minutes for the lunch. Please make sure you reach out to your coupon. Lunch is upstairs, and everybody will have food to eat. After lunch, we'll come back for for the next sessions. We have a presenter online. We also have the WeTech session. And we would announce what will happen tomorrow. Reserve your questions now. We will have opportunity to reflect and also discuss the presentations for this afternoon. Thank you very much. 30 minutes lunch. We will all come back and then listen to the other speakers. Thank you.
So we are coming back at 3:15. Thank you.